iLawn started in 2009 and been through a number of iterations. The program was rewritten in 2017. It used to be Flash-based, believe it or not. So 2017, rewritten to a complete web app. And during that time, has acquired numerous customers. We're at about 1,500 landscape customers now. We also have Go iPave, which is the same system, works in the paving industry, and we've got a little over 500 customers on that side. So what you're going to see here with Chris's demonstration is going to hold true for Go iPave as well as Go iLawn. So back to you.
Yeah, and so we can start up here in the corner. The company that flies the airplanes contracts with local county governments typically, and they fly year over year, in that county, and the county uses them for auditing purposes and maybe other infrastructure reasons. And so we have available to us, this property, going way back, and in addition to that, we've got some overviews. So we have 3 overhead views. Typically low, medium, and high. Low can be 2-inch resolution or less. And you can see terrific detail. And you can see why pavers, mulchers, landscapers, pavers, seal coaters, that they love this stuff because they can see the surfaces and they know what what they're dealing with. We also have angle views, which allow you to see around the buildings, if there's a shadow or, you're not sure what's going on from corner to corner, you can look all the way around it and, get a good idea of, the rest of the property. All the drawings are done in the overhead views. And we can work our way around. We have a list here of tools that allow you to do area draws. Click, 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 drop the dots. We've also got freehand, so if you're on a glass, you can put your finger on the tablet and draw an area. We also have a quick circle. And then the next 2 are line distances, same deal, drop the dots, or put your finger on the glass. We've also got some graphics like these arrows and labels. You can also count things or in any way you want, mark the map, with little circles, so a snow guy could mark the map with where he's going to put, his snow sticks. But you could also count parking spaces or basins or types of trees and put those species in separate groups. And then we have a lasso tool, which allows you to grab a bunch of drawings and either delete them or move them to a different group. And then we have a paint fill, which allows you to fill in a cutout. We're famous for our groupings. We've had this since almost since the beginning. But we started with the groups, and then we were able to colorize drawings. And then when we went to the rewrite, we decided to make the groups, king of the map. And so if you want the map to look a certain way or do a certain thing, you get that done by stylizing the group. You can pick colors, you can pick depths if you want, a volume measurement. Your edges can have dots or dashed or solids. They can be fat or thin. Your colors can be, dark or opaque. You can even adjust your unit of measures. And this particular system is set up with the instant estimator, and so we've installed production factors into the groups. And so these production factors actually, are benchmarked. And so if we dump square footage into this group, it's going to start telling us the minutes it takes with that machine to get the job done. And I can do a quick draw here on a couple things just to show you how drawing works. And you've probably seen this. You can just click around, any perimeter, and you can be as precise as you want to be, and you can create a shape. If we were to use this freehand, I don't have a touch screen, but you can hold your mouse down and just draw an easy shape. The undo button just gets rid of that. Undo will, uses the browser, and it'll go back 25 clicks if you happen to fall asleep while you're drawing.
And you'll notice the total hours at the top left are being updated in real time as you measure. That's the time and materials it would take to do the job there.
And that, so we're dumping things into that 21-inch mower right now. We have this quick circle, which can be handy. If you're in a cul-de-sac, you can just click and draw a radius and get a quick circle. And so, these guys are developing square foot measurements so that they can estimate work, but they're also developing a site map, which becomes a very effective communication tool for their potential client, as well as after they win the deal, they can give it to the crew, and they understand, what their agreements are and what needs to be done. And so that's the area tools. This is the number one tool here, the click, 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 drop the dots. Once the tools are created, once a shape is created, you can get in there and mess with it. So if we click the pointer, we can come back and click on a drawing, and now we have another set of tools in the edit box. You can, every drawing is titled, with the group and, what's the number of that drawing. It shows the square footage, but then we have edit points, move the shape around, to cut out something in the shape, add something to the shape, make a copy of the drawing, put it in the trash can, and delete it, or move it from one group to another. And so just clicking these edit points, you can see, you can move a white dot and you'll get more dots. So you move the shape, you get better numbers. You click away and that's gone. You click on it again, and here we've got move, the whole thing around. And this allows you to grab these corners and distort them. You can also grab the top one and rotate it. That's very handy. If you're in a parking lot with a lot of islands and they're all the same shape, you can measure one, make a copy, and then spin it around to the correct orientation, as the islands change across the lot. The cutout is a very cool tool, so we're able to cut things away from this, So we automatically end up in an area tool, and you can click around and it'll reduce the square footage. We're at 84.7, now we're at 83.3. You can also use the circle tool, so maybe you're cutting out tree rings, and so you don't want to count them as turf. You want to get rid of that as turf, but now we can cut them away, and we can scroll down to our mulch, and then we can fill those in, with a mulch measurement. And so now we've got square footage and perimeter and volume in the mulch group. So those are our drawing tools, those are our edit tools, and now let's go to this property when we pull it out of the oven. We got another one of these here. So this is the same property. We've measured it up for summer and winter services. And we've used all these different groups, and we can go down the list, and you can imagine, maybe you're talking to a potential client, and you want to show him, what you have in mind for his property. You haven't just, measured up a bunch of square footage numbers. You've actually planned the production of this property. Property intelligence. So we can click the 60-inch mower, and that's all been measured all across the property. We have some 67,000 square feet. We've got the 52-inch mower measured up. We measured all the mulch beds and the tree rings. We measured up all the drive lanes. So if there's a day snow event, Now the contractor knows, how much time and how much salt he's going to need, to take care of the lot while there's cars in the lot. And then we measured up all the parking spaces, so we have a complement, so he can come back at night and know all those numbers and total salt that he needs. We measured up all the sidewalks, and then we've got a couple groups that don't necessarily have to do with square footage, but we've got our hashtag, which allows us to count. And we came over here and counted all these bushes over here. And you'll notice they're red because the group is red. You can mark the map with those types of counts and use the color of the group that you want. We created a bunch of snow piles so that the client understands, where all that snow is going to go, which can be very important to some people. If you're plowing a car lot, whatever, you don't want to obstruct his merchandise. We use the label tool to create, these labels. They have an edit as well. You can grab them, move them around. You can rotate them. And then we used our arrow and put them in a separate group for directionals. And now, the client knows, how we're going to approach the property, where the snow piles are going to go. And the crew also understands, what the ops manager feels is the most efficient way to plow the lot. And as you're showing this to the client, he's really getting the understanding that you know his property. He's kind of in your head now. He's building confidence in what you're selling, and he's on your side. Now, with all this drawing and effective site map, we can go to the numbers. So we come up here and go to the edit screen, and it's going to take each group and cascade it down the screen. Shows us, the machine that's being used, the square footage, for that machine, the number of minutes for that machine, and we have it set at a single occurrence. Now, for summer work, you can up that, to however many mows, the guy might be planning. I can afford 25 mows, or, I need you out here 30 times, and you can change that, and it's going to give you, the hours, for that season. Now, we also included in these mow groups a trimming function. We call it flat trim. You're using the line trimmer, you're keeping it in a horizontal position, and you're just going around behind the mower making sure that nothing was missed. And we have that set at a benchmark, 108,000 square feet an hour, and so it comes up with minutes because your guy is going to be doing that. He's going to be paid to do that, and so you should be able to sell that service. This whole group is being controlled by the benchmarks, which is on a back screen that I can show you later. But we also have this complexity slider, which allows the estimator to look at the map and the property and decide, if this is a typical property that his crews can perform at the benchmark. If he thinks it's more difficult, he can add minutes and get a more accurate estimate. If he thinks it's a lot easier, or he wants to be more competitive and he understands what he's given up, he put his best crew on the job, he can take minutes away by going to the left. And that complexity slider works for each group as we go down the screen. Some more interesting screens. Here's the mulch. We've got our cubic yards set. We've got the total crew hours to deploy that mulch. So if you want to get it done in a day or half a day, how many guys do you have to put on the job to get that mulch deployed? We've also included in this group, weeding and pre-emergent in pounds and ounces. There's a vertical edge there for summer maintenance, and there's also a first-time edging, with a machine or spade, for the spring, just getting started. So you get a lot of data points, and you use them, as you need to throughout the season as you're deploying your crews.
And Chris, I just wanted to point out that this is done with blended factors. These are all the things you need to do to lay mulch, but many contractors don't think of it that way. They separate them out. But they belong in this group, and what we do is streamline the process for them. So all they need to do is measure. Bam.
And they'll call and want us to explain it, and then they understand that just because the data point is there doesn't mean you do it every time you go out. You use that data to design your labor and charge appropriately. Here's the parking areas and the drive lanes. We've got our tons of salt. We're using like 100,000 square feet per ton. And we've got a summer number here as well, blow off the area. So after the mow, your guy's going to be running around the lot with a backpack. In the winter, he's going to be de-icing, after he plows. And then we've got the parking spaces, which, adds the complement, and 5 tons. If that were a single, we don't know when it's going to snow, Our clients ask us, when's it going to snow? Well, now we can tell you what it's going to take when it snows, or how long it's going to take you to mow, but we can't tell you when it's going to snow. But that adds the complement. So you got the minutes to blow off the lot. You add those two together, and then you've got the plow and the salt. Down to the sidewalks, we're using that same de-icing measurement, except now we're showing it in pounds because they're going to throw bags on the back of the truck. And use a hand spreader, to de-ice that sidewalk. But again, there's blow off for the summer, clearing, for the winter, edging as you need to. All this can be dumped into a spreadsheet, and it will lay out. Let's see if I can dump it in here. Around the shop, we call this the Aspire integration. So they generate all this information, and then they go to Aspire and key it in, and we're working on that fix. But we have several tabs down here at the bottom of the spreadsheet, and this is a summary of the map screen, showing all the groups that are being used, all the square footages. We've got the volume measurements here. A lot of perimeter, that people ask for. There it is. We can go to the area tab, and it'll show every area measurement. You can create macros, to go in and pull those out if you need them that way. If there were any line measurements, they would be here. Every count, we counted those shrubs. Every count, has a latitude, longitude associated with it. So if you were counting expensive trees, different species, whatever, and your insurance company wanted to know where they were, i.e. DuPont, when they killed all those trees, you've got the lat long here. And the last tab is the instant estimator sheet that shows all the hours as a label as well as digital, so that you can create equations for your pricing. And we've split it out into maintenance, spring, service, snow, and I think there's an other if we were going to use that. Now, we can also go and look at where all of these production factors live. And we're going to go over to Show Me, the account screen. There's a lot going on the account screen. First and foremost, we've got the templates. And a template is a group list. And we've designed them so that when you create your trial, you've got all these various templates that will help guide you through a takeoff. We've loaded them up with the services. And all you got to do is start to draw to experience the system and understand, how powerful it is. With that said, you can take each one of these group lists and change them. You can rearrange groups. You can open them up and change their names to something else, make their colors different or darker, add more group names to the list. You can do whatever you want to the list at this point. And you can even set one of these templates as a default, by clicking on it and then selecting the default checkbox, so that every time you create a map, your list is going to come up. But even at that, if you're on a blank map, you can change templates, if you want to. Once you start to draw, you're locked into that template, and you have to go with it. Below this template section are the services that we've been talking about. So here's that 60-inch mower, as an example. You can see it sit at the benchmark, 46,000 square feet an hour. You can change that. If you know your crews are better, you can add more square feet per hour, to that service. And then going forward, any map that uses that is going to be using your adjusted benchmark. But ultimately, people are coming in to experience the system, and they have a benchmark, which most guys don't have a benchmark. They don't really do job costing. They don't understand, that they need to tell the guy when you leave the barn, this is how much time you got, and you got to get to the next, property. So we start them out with a benchmark, and then they can adjust it. And we also, tell them that these are actual job-costed crew performance hours that have been checked year over year. We didn't put the A-team at the benchmark. We thought, that this level could be hit by just about every crew with decent equipment, but at the same time, it's adjustable as you get to know how your crew performs against it. All of these services exist here. There's some 40 services, but you'll notice several of them are custom, which means you can come to the bottom of the list, type in a name, and you can create your own service. All you have to do is, give it a description, give it a title, tell us how many square feet an hour it's going to produce, if there's any materials involved, i.e. maybe it's for fertilization. You pick your unit of measure, and how many of those units it's going to cover, in square feet, and now you got yourself a service. All you got to do is install it up at the top in a group and start adding square feet to it, and you'll start getting numbers. Well, you generate all of these maps, and you bid on this work. And all the maps end up on the project screen. Each map has a project card, and they sit here for you to work on. We tag each map, and you can sort the map by clicking on tags. You can search through the tags for a particular tag based on the user, or a zip code, or a county, or a town. You can even create your own manual tag, and that would allow you to take one client and tag his several maps that you've created for him. You can even designate each project card that you have won as a customer, and we will track that on the dashboard. If we jump back to the map real quick, you can see up here on the left we've got a tag tab. And as we typed in that address, it tagged the state, county, the zip, the town, the user, and there are several manual tags in there as well. You can also just search for a project, and anything in the title, anything in the zip code, or I'm sorry, the address, will come up on the search. And it's very robust, and it'll grab whatever is out there for you and help you find your project. And this can become an issue if you've got a lot of projects,
There's been over 1 million projects measured on Go iLawn. And some of the large companies have 250 users contributing to those measurements. So the tagging system is really key in allowing them to surface what they're looking for quickly, or groups of properties.
Now back to the map screen, you can title the group, the map, anything you want it to be. In this title box, we always fill in the address that you searched, because we don't like to leave anything blank. So you type in whatever it might be. It could be the client's name or the name of the property, or whatever. As you come down to the bottom of this left panel, we've got several ways of exporting the data. I've already done the spreadsheet. You can also go to print, and it'll give you a 2-page PDF, or go to paper. You can save a static photo right off the database, so it's very high resolution. And if you wanted to blow it up on a foam board, 3x5, it wouldn't pixelate on you. It'll hold true. Our newest is the share view, this link, and this allows you to send this map to the ops guy, or a potential client, or a current client, and they will have access to the map, and they can pan it, zoom in on it, change the view, look at different years, open and close the groups. They can do anything and everything, except they cannot change any of the measurements. They can't add measurements, they can't edit measurements, but you can, walk through what you've done, and they can buy off on it, or they can give you advice. You can add more work to the map. They can refresh their browser, and the share view would be updated. When you create the share view, you can choose between showing them the map with all the data in these groups, these square footages and volume measurements, or you can hide that data, depending on the situation. If you just want to share that with a potential client, and you want to kind of show them what you've done, what your thought process is, maybe you don't want to show them the numbers. But you check the box so that you understand that you are sharing this map. And you can copy that URL and put it in an email, or dump it in a text, or whatever. And the recipient can click on it, it'll open up, and they're able to do whatever, and you'll notice there are no groups here. I'm sorry, there are no drawing tools. But they can hide everything, and then they can show them one at a time. They can zoom in, they can look at the different views. They can say, I don't want you to mow that part, that belongs to my neighbor, and it's up to him. I've argued with him, it's his property, I'm not paying for it any longer, blah, blah, blah. You can, adjust the map. He can do the refresh on his browser, and the map will show it the update. So it's a very effective tool, especially if you have people collaborating, within the company. Estimators need ops guys to buy off on their estimate, make sure they can execute what they've designed. Sales guys need to understand, this is a big property that they've all been gunning for, and now you can share it. You can also, dump this link into Aspire or any CRM, and they can just click on it for a quick reference. And if you happen to share it, and the guy doesn't give you the job, you can come back to this link, and you can click the box, and you can kill the share, and now that URL is no longer effective. And you can easily create a new one. It'll be completely unique. The old one, is gone and will never be revived. The one thing I didn't show you was, here's a blank map, no work on it. And over here under the template tab, here's where you have the choices of what list you're going to use. So if you go to snow, it's a very short list. If you go to HOA, it's a very extensive list. And that's available to you before you start to draw. soon as you create a drawing, you're locked into that. And that's part of our roadmap to build in more
You have
flexibility.
dependencies built in and into the templates, and so switching templates after you've measured isn't feasible at this point.
In addition to all that, we've got our little support button down here at the bottom right corner where you can enter in a chat, or you can go to the knowledge base and watch a clever video. We pay attention to the chat, all the time and make sure that people have their questions answered. Whether it's, my search credit went to the wrong place, or why is your system broken? It's got this big black line in the middle of it, and and then I tell them about the view buttons, and then everything's good again.
So each one of those tiles you see is key in terms of accurately measuring along the different angles and the different areas. And so you have to use the different views to get the imagery to accurately represent it and still maintain the integrity of the measuring.
But yeah, if you're on Go iLawn Basic, I guess is one way to call it, you get everything that you would have gotten. You get the site map, you get the spreadsheet, you get to save the pictures. You even get volume, because the groups allow you to put in, depth, but you do not get any of the production factors. You don't get any of the benchmarking minutes. You don't know how much, salt's going to take. You have to do all those calculations yourself, which, with Instant Estimator, all you have to do is train a staff person to read a map and draw fast, get it done.
So you can show them some of the filtering, if you'd like, to see what share view projects you have. Also the all parcel tool.
Oh yeah, we can. This is showing all the projects. If we want to just show the ones that we've shared, the shares are going to have the green bar at the top. And so, if you get into a panic and you don't want that guy to have that map anymore, this makes a short list. You can go click into it and get rid of it. If you archive something and you didn't mean to, you just come back and hit the little squiggly, and it's back on the main screen.
And can you go ahead and show them the all parcel tool, Chris?
Right, the all parcel. Let me go to this one. Here. Nope. I want to go to the blank. So we've got these parcels in the database collected by Pitney Bowes and CoreLogic, and they show up when we hit the right address. They'll show up in yellow, and that lets us know we're on the right spot. And that address shows up here under the parcel tab. You can make that yellow disappear if you don't want to look at it. It's a memo. It doesn't restrict you in any way, and they float around. But you can also look at parcels that are adjacent. So if we click the Show All Parcel, it's very dramatic over here in the neighborhood. It breaks down every property. It shows you, whatever address is tagged with them. And that's helpful. At times you get an address that doesn't work. You can search with latitude, longitude with our search box. And then you can turn on all parcels to see if they exist. And what is the actual parcel address of that property.
And another roadmap item is being able to leverage this for marketing, being able to mark a centroid of a customer and then look for properties adjacent to it to build route density, be able to measure those, propose, send out an email template. Hey, we service this customer, we have for years, you've probably driven by the property. Because we're so close to your property, we can do a great job and provide exceptional value. And so, one thing I just wanted to mention with the maps while we're here is you know, we're designed to help our customers win, and that takes the form of many different things. We've got customers who they've got estimators in our system all day long. They just log in, and that's what they do is they measure. You're seeing a relatively simple property here. Chris, I don't know if you can show them something more sophisticated.
We were looking at something earlier.
But when you're measuring HOAs, when you're measuring college campuses, I mean, the amount of money at stake when you're making a mistake, or the amount of time it takes to measure something with a wheel or inefficiently, is staggering. So, you know, our system provides the ability to do these complex jobs, like the one you see here, you know, in essence, what we do is we help our customers increase profit, reduce expenses, save time, and gain competitive advantage. And so the profitable piece is, hey, if you can prevent making a mistake, I mean, on something like this, if you're off just a little bit, your entire profit margin's gone. The time it takes to measure this versus, you know, having to go out there or using other means, but also selling this job, you know, and that's where the visual communication comes in, the ability to turn off each step and walk the customer through. And let's face it, these are service providers. I'm selling you a promise, okay? I'm not selling you this cup. You can't hold it when we meet. You're buying a promise that I'm gonna do what I said I was gonna do. This tangibilizes that invisible product. And it does so in a way that the property manager resonates with, because that's his property. So being able to walk them through is impressive, and that competitive advantage. I mean, when you're bidding with someone who's just throwing a spreadsheet, or not selling visually, or, oh yeah, I think they understand, well, this gets everyone on the same page. So it provides tremendous value. And then the share view has been very well received in terms of it's not only passing it along to one property manager, but they've got to sell others on accepting us to do the work. And now they just send a link. Hey, look what they're going to do. Oh yeah, great. We should go with these guys. So I just am trying to peel back some of the layers of the onion in terms of the value we provide, because it goes far beyond measuring. And you know, something else too is we talked about retaining these projects. Well, you've got upsells, upgrades, you've got rebidding properties. Maybe you didn't sell them this year. You just rebid the same thing next year. Property manager changes, the incumbent dropped the ball. So they have a tremendous asset locked in their projects. And when you look at some of the larger companies, it's staggering how many projects they have already pre-measured that just takes them a press of a button to access. That's my spiel.
An interesting story about this map is the client called me and he says, I got this map. And then, you know, the mall manager called me back and he said, yeah, but, you know, I need to see each individual lot. What am I going to do, Chris? You know, I measured up everything in one big fat group. You know, he had, you know, several million square feet in one big fat group. And you know, it was easy enough just to go in and edit, right? And put each parcel, you know, in a different group, name the group appropriately, give it a unique color, and now the mall manager can budget or charge the appropriate store, you know, for whatever they're going to do to their lot.
And you notice over here too the way they use the groups. It's lot one, it's lot two. And for certain types of jobs, being able to customize these groups to show the other stakeholders the work that's going to take place, but when and where is very, very important. So it's a dynamic site map that the crews really rely on.
That's something that seal coaters take advantage of, because on Monday we're going to do this lot, and here it is a red. And on Tuesday we're going to do this lot, and here it is a yellow. And so they're able to shift people around so they can get the job done. It's a very efficient communicator on many levels.
All right, we have some questions. So Whitney first.
Okay, I have several.
Go.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think this is true. So any of the measurements that you take that are areas, it will automatically output the area and the linear footage for the perimeter, both,
Yes,
for that shape. Okay.
you'll find that on the spreadsheet.
Okay, I thought I did, but then it was moving, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Where do the benchmarks come from?
Those are actual crew performance hours. You know, the
From RS Means or Cruise in Cincinnati or?
Cruise in Cincinnati, our previous owner, you know, has been mowing grass and plowing snow since '79. We employed their estimators, and they came up with certainly not their proprietary production factors, but a more general representation of what crews can do in that area.
Okay. And then how long are projects stored?
Forever.
Forever.
As long as you're a subscriber.
There you go.
Yes.
But if you have a project on your project screen and you're just tired of looking at it, or you searched the wrong address, or the system failed you and took you, to the Atlantic Ocean or whatever, you can click the little trash can and you can archive it.
Okay, nice.
And so it's out of sight, but you can't delete. We learned early on that people learn how to delete before they learn how to do anything. So they were deleting tags, they're deleting projects, they're deleting test maps. It's like, what happened to your trial? I don't even recognize it. Where's all the stuff? People work for large companies, and they're being paid, and the companies are paying us for these maps, and they're generating all of these assets. And for an individual user to be able to just delete it is not appropriate. And so we can archive those.
Thank you. That's all my questions.
Cool. Jason Pine. Please.
Is it typical for users to interact with your application mostly in the office or in the field, 50-50? How does that typically happen?
I got to say, in the office.
Definitely in the office. And you can track that on desktop usage. Doing the actual measuring is much more efficient on a large screen. That's where the work's really being done. But in the field, you want to refer to it. So it's not the place to measure, it's the place to either use share view or to pull it up and make a quick note.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, but there are, guys that'll take their laptops out and they'll be in their truck, whatever, and they can either use their hotspot. I've had people, tell me those stories, but the desktop is the #1 production machine. And so they can really take advantage of the efficiencies that this has to offer. And most of our users are cranking it out. They're using a lot of clicks, a lot of credits. And we can talk about our pricing, but one of the consumables of this system are searching the address for the first time takes a credit, and you buy that credit separate from the subscription. The subscription covers saving all the maps and giving you access and automatic updates. The credits allow you to get that property into your account so that you have it to work on. And you use that credit once on that first search.
And one other point about in the field, tablets are great too, because you can draw drop dots with your finger, rotate the screen. So if you're on a large property and you're with the property manager, you can literally matrix-like zoom out and say, hey, let's look on the other side of the building. Well, it would take you 15 minutes to walk to the other side of the building, but now you can see it and you can relate to what you're looking at now.
Okay. I had a similar question to production factors and where those benchmarks that you provide.
Right, and that is the first question that most people ask, because mowing companies put out production factors, and what do they mean? They're on a football field, wide open.
It's like a trade secret.
Right.
Big deal.
Right, and so companies that job cost, which if you don't, you're crazy. You gotta bid the job, win the job, produce the job, and then you got to go back and say, did I make any money on that bid? Should I make some adjustments to that? So job costing is essential, and that's what allows them to do.
Have you heard from any user feedback on how accurate those benchmarks are?
Yeah, we get pretty good feedback. We, especially face-to-face, we'll go to the trade shows, okay, and we're live. And we're drawing up, and we'll ask them, what you have a property you would like to visit, and we'll go there and we'll measure up a bunch of stuff, and then we'll show them our minutes that we've produced, even the square footage, and we'll ask them if we're close, and people will say that we're right on, or they'll get on their phone And then they'll call their, their guide and they'll say, well, what did it take us to produce that property? How long did it take us to mow that property? An hour and 45 minutes. And then we look at our screen and it says an hour and 45 minutes. So they've been validated over and over again.
It's easy to test on a property you already know and have done.
For sure,
And
yeah.
as a matter of fact, we also sell this as an insurance policy. Use your current estimating system, put it up against us. You go to the doctor, oh, well, this is wrong with you. Well, I think I'm going to get a second opinion just in case. We've got an automated second opinion.
Nice.
And it's instant.
The complexity slider, my last question, I think, for
Yeah.
now. Actually, I got two more.
Go ahead.
When you're adjusting complexity, does that go to those predefined increments, or can you drag it to an odd number like a 13% as opposed to a
It's
5 or 10, 15?
predefined.
Okay.
It is.
And then the last one, I'm sure I'll talk more with you all about paving, but is there anything, I don't see anything that would inherently be different for paving. You've got different name services, different materials, but you're configuring all the back end to represent that now.
You're absolutely
correct.
right. And the difference, why we haven't launched Instant Estimator formally for paving is we lack the domain knowledge for the production factors and all those nuanced things. The preparation before the materials go down. Yeah.
We've actually gone to paving trade shows, and we'll bring up iPave, and we'll have Instant Estimator installed, and they're just going crazy. They're loving it.
They put in their own stuff.
And we'll ask them for some numbers. So we're sitting there with our finger on our touch screens at the trade show, drawing up all of the cracks in the blacktop, and that's their profit margin.
Crack
When they
fill.
do seal coating, the crack fill is where they get you. So they're measuring, and I'm drawing with my finger, and it's terrific. All of a sudden they don't have to guess, but they're producing, their own quantities. So many pounds of goo per square feet. Who knows? It's just so different. You really got to have somebody who knows what they're talking about, and depending on the type of product that you're using, that's going to be different as well. So we create those custom services that you saw on that service list. And then we'd go back and make some drawings on the map, and it would produce times, and they're very excited about that.
Cool. Jim, I think you had a question?
Yeah, Jason covered a little bit of it, but that's okay. For paving, I was curious, exact same thing, if there are factors available that are known factors, production factors for that market. But right now, you sell it without that, and they can just create their own.
Correct, correct. Yeah, we've started talking to a couple of companies about participating to be our domain experts, with their production factors. There's interest out there. We just have to devote the time and energy, and iLawn is much larger than iPave. So now we're hoping to, with the acquisition, to be able to devote more resources to it.
We got 550 or so pavers.
Some of the largest paving companies in the country.
Some of the largest Rose Paving. You ever heard of those
Yeah,
guys?
Chicago.
Yeah.
They have
Yeah.
a branch there.
Massive.
Cicero, actually. But yeah, they market across the country, and then when they win the work, they'll find a local guy.
Some kind of-
And then eventually the local guy will call us and say, who are you guys? I want to use your system, and they'll start using us, as a spin-off.
Nice.
Or they used to work for Rose, and
one
now
more.
they're in.
One more. So so you've got about 40 or so of those production factors pre-built in.
Correct.
That seems pretty extensive. Is it common for people to do their own custom, configuration of their own factors in the solution, or is that you guys cover most of it?
When we're going through it, people, have their idiosyncrasies, how they do things, or maybe they've got a particular machine, and they'll create a service for that. We thought that list would cover 80% of what people need, but it was probably a third of the list, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Of services that we could have put in there, but
And it also
it's a lot.
depends on the customer. The smaller guys and gals who are just getting started, they rely on us as an education tool. I mean, boom, we know what we're doing. We've got the guidelines. That's what the templates were designed for. Have you considered that you need to do this when you measure an HOA? A lot of them will look at those groups. I would have missed that. And there's also an order, the most efficient and optimized way to do it. So that's really beneath all this, is what's the optimal way to measure a property to achieve the result you want.
Whitney?
Sorry, I had another question. after Jason. So now that you guys have been at this for several years, have you had clients who needed to repurchase and a project they have because now a building has been built and did you charge them for another credit for that?
So great question. Once you purchase a project with a credit, as long as you're a subscriber, you can go back and update that as often as you want. But that limits us to being able to transact one physical address. So we added copy projects, all right, almost as a source of version control, but to also break up services in different maps. So you might have snow in one map. And Chris, could you show them a copy project, how that works? And so what we do, it's a form of expansion revenue. We share with companies that they could break up their properties into discrete maps, share them based on the type of specific service they're providing. So does that answer your question?
It does, yep, thank you.
Yeah, he'll show you one. You'll see, okay, see all copies.
Yeah. I just saw one. Where'd it go?
Yeah, they're on the left there. There you go. Yep, one up. Just click see all copies.
Here. Okay.
And so when you create a copy, which is that little icon in the upper right-hand corner, if there's no other copies, it'll ask, hey, do you want to make a copy? And then it will say, we're going to charge you a credit. Do you agree? Click, because again, we're transacting, we're making money on this. Some customers, I mean, since we released it, it's amazing. They have 5 or 6 copies. They break up different items. Again, it might be snow, it might be spring cleanups versus other maintenance they do. And then if they have multiple users, different users create their own copies.
Some of the larger companies will be on a big campus, and all of a sudden, the client will want to break up the map because of budget purposes. And so they'll make 4 or 5 copies because there's 4 or 5 buildings, and all they have to do now is erase what they don't need on that particular map. But that brings up another issue that's very interesting. We store all their maps, and so you're sitting up here on the new property screen typing in an address, and what happens if you've already been there? We're going to go back and look at your inventory and see if you've ever searched that address. Am I doing that right? Nope. And so if we find one, we're going to say, hey, you got this map. Do you want to use that one, or do you want to create a new one?
We made an ethical decision to do right by our customers and let them know, because they would forget and they would buy the same thing with a copy. And so we put in this feature to be able to let them know they've already purchased the asset. Do they want to use it?
And we even surfaced some training issues. Some users didn't understand that they could go to the project screen and bring up that map again. They would always go to the search box and search that same address. And so finally, the manager or whoever's in charge, called, what's going on with this address? We've got all, blah, 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 and so was searching, but now if they get a second map, it's because they click this box, and that's why they got that second map. But,
and some want 4, 5, 6 copies.
Yeah, some maps, may be connected to a contract from last year. And now they're going to somehow create a new contract, and they're going to make changes, but they want to hold that map. They could even archive it and create a new map for the new agreement.
Do you have any analytics to understand what the users are using within the app or not using?
We do. We use Elastic Kibana, and we've written a number of queries so that we can see which tools are most popular, which companies are using which tools. We're trying to look at velocity of search burn, which companies are growing faster as evidenced by their measuring activity. We can go through that with you. We've got a number of different things. And in addition, we've been working on more reporting within the application to surface trends.
Okay.
But I see a real opportunity here for prediction analysis tied to materials, a whole series of things. We've got deep layers of data that we could use for not only insights for ourselves, but for our customers. Reports, how much pine straw do I use in my southern work? Walmart's a customer, And they have, what do we do? 4,000 plus.
4,600, yeah.
But they want information by department, reports by department. They have a should cost mandate. And so we're selling to the end user in that respect, and then they're selling to the contractors, so we make a market there. But they want everything broken out specifically so that they can predict budgets.
Cool. All right. Any other last questions? Yes.
Can multiple users work on the same map at the same time?
You know, that's not a good idea.
I agree.
You didn't say no, though.
We wanted to say it's possible,
Because you
but it's
can't,
not pretty.
you know, but
Yeah.
somebody's going to lose.
It's not pretty.
You notice down here at the bottom corner, it says all changes saved. And, you know, if you were to, make a change to the map, it flashes saving, and then it goes back to all changes saved. And if you've got two people working on the site, somebody could lose some of their work because there was a conflict when they did the save. So not a good idea. That brings up another issue. We sell single user, multiple user, 1 user, 2 users, 5 users, 10 users. On a single user account, if you share your username, the last person to log in is the current session. And we did that so that some guy's working on his desk, he's cranking it out, all of a sudden he gets called, he's got to go out into the field, give expert advice. He's out there, he logs in, the desk is logged off, and his current session now is with him. So if you're sharing, you get this ping pong thing going. They think their internet failed or something's wrong with the system. Why'd they get kicked off? They have to log back in. The other guy gets kicked off, and so it's a good way to sell a multiple account.
Okay. Last question.
What do you lose with not having the instant estimator? And do most people have the instant estimator right now?
So we launched the Instant Estimator at the end of 2020, and most people do not. You get the basic measuring, all the functionality you see, minus the services, the production factors. I've scratched my head numerous times in terms of the formula. We built Instant Estimator to be simple and accessible, to measure and estimate at the same time, to connect two links in a chain that were separated. Whether it's my poor marketing or something else, it hasn't been as adopted as I thought. But what's interesting is you look at Walmart, for instance, we would have never have landed that deal without Instant Estimator. They need everything estimated so they can beat up on their contractors so they know what things should cost. We continue a slow but steady sales of Instant Estimator. It is growing, but not to the extent it is Go iLawn. And Chris has a theory that companies will migrate to the lowest cost price, and Instant
Lowest number on the
Estimator is more expensive. So that's a formula we have yet to crack. We should have everyone on Instant Estimator.
You said when you were building on a new one that once you start building it, that list locks down, right?
Correct. The template.
Yeah, so the template.
Yep.
So I assume those templates are standardized, right? And for everybody, they are what they are. They can't be customized or anything like that.
Actually, you can change them. So you can make those templates anything you want. We start off with this set. We want to add more as well, different types of jobs. But the little secret in there is if you customize them and you save them globally, they'll reflect that. So in terms of this integration we're working on, I think one of the ways we're going to get around some things is by creating an Aspire template, so that when a Go iLawn customer wants to connect their Aspire, they'll do so in a template which automatically matches the takeoff IDs to our groups.
Let's say I start building a design in one layout, and I realize that, I don't have everything I need in my template, or I need to build another one. What's the route? What's the route there?
Yeah, so you can either add to it, at the job level, or if you want to save it as a template, you would just go back in and say, I want to save this as a template. But you'd have to take what you're doing on the map, the groups you added,
Right.
go into the global setting and add those to the template.
Yep.
And then they'd be locked in.
Yeah, these are all changeable.
Everything's customizable.
You can rearrange them. If you pop it open, you can write over the name, change the color. You can even go to a hex website and copy paste, a hex number in there to give it any color you want it to be, but everything about the templates can be changed except for the name at this point. You can't change the names. So that's on the list to edit those and create your own custom template, is another thing, that's a possibility. And being able to start out with a short list like snow and then come back in the summer and add a mowing list to the same map is another item that would, make it easier. But, yeah.
In your depth measurements for mulch, that's a great example. Do you build in the fudge factor, like the fluff factor of, say, pine straw, or is it on the contractor to know, okay, if it gives me 50 bales of pine straw, I better order 60? Is that a consideration of your software, or is it on the contractor?
I'm trying to think back to Shannon, who was the estimator who developed that production factor, whether he did factor in a fluff. My take would be, knowing Shannon, no. Chris, do you have,
and we had that specific discussion because pine straw is different, right? And so, when you're on the group, if you got Go iLawn Basic, you don't even have Instant Estimator. Regardless, you go into a group, you put in 2 inches, it's just going to create a volume based on the square footage.
It's just 2 inches?
Just 2 inches.
Okay.
You could say, how much snow am I going to have to haul off if I get a 6-inch, event, and it'll tell you. But with pine straw, I'm trying to think if we put it in as bales, let's see.
And that was kind of a follow-up question I had. So for
I think-
enhancements, in your template, if you're setting up a custom service, I guess, will it automatically convert 450 square foot of turf as a pallet? Will it give you pallets, or does your contractor have to do that math after the fact?
Yeah, he's got to do that.
yeah, we don't support pallets. We do a number of different.
Now, he could build his own special group service, and he could
And he
say
could
the
set the
unit of
conversion
measure is
factor.
pallet.
Okay.
And there's going to be 1 pallet for every so many hundred, 1,000 square feet, and then when he does the measuring, it's going to tell him pallets.
Perfect. Nice.
But here's an example of the pine straw, that he created, and he says that you have to use a specific depth in order to get this production factor of deploying 350 square feet an hour. Now, if we go, let's see if we go over to this map. I wonder if let's call it pine straw. Put it in our favorite spot. So I guess we need to, he gives us the production. So we would come down here and designate the group as 3 inches in order to get the volume. This came up because we were at a trade show.
So it doesn't give bales.
Right.
Yeah.
He said that he thought bales would be inconsistent depending on where you bought. And
down a rabbit
so
hole.
if they got the cubic feet, they could buy their bales appropriately. And there was a guy from South Carolina that agreed. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Understand?
Yeah, mine's kind of about the marketing. I know that you said that that's just on the roadmap, so maybe haven't thought this much into it, but so you've got two companies who are both working in close proximity to one another, and they've both kind of opted into marketing. Have you thought about like how you determine who gets the, this is a company up for grab, this is a property up for grabs? Would you send it to company A and company B, or is it one over the other?
And I think that and actually I like where you're headed, because that's a new business and a new service that we could do in terms of prospecting to contractors. But what I was referring to is the contractor themselves is looking at building route density by marketing specifically to prospects surrounding a customer. So I think what you were saying is that we could measure up and then give that information to different companies, or yeah. So that in the example that we were using, our customer would be a landscape contractor, and they would be looking to grow their business by finding prospects close to an existing customer and then marketing to them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and that's the key to route density, and super important, especially in today's world, but it's also more profitable business. It's instant marketing, your trucks are always around. So, but very good question. We could build a business around just measuring. And hey, do you want to bid on this? Go right ahead.
Yeah, I mean, in that what if scenario, we'd sell the property to both, and whoever could be most efficient and come up with the best price is going to win that job.
Yeah, like if there were two companies who were working in close proximity to each other there, and they're, that's kind of what I was talking about.
I've actually had, two different clients call me about, some warehouse. And I'm thinking, I just saw this warehouse yesterday, and and they were both working it. So trying to win that job.
Sure. Thank you.
John Daggett?
Earlier, you were talking about archiving. Does the checking addresses also check the archived ones, so it doesn't take a search?
Yeah.
I'm both, yes. Yeah, we felt we really needed to be as transparent as possible with what they'd purchased from us, and if it overlaps, we didn't want any mistakes.
And then further, let's say you got a client with a couple hundred users, and every user on the permission list, a user status, sees only their maps. So they're creating, what, and they go to their project screen, they see what they've created. But if they type in an address and it pops up, it's existing on the account, but it's not theirs, it belongs to another user. They don't have the permission to use that map. They would, and we tell them, if you want to use this map, you need to, get in touch with the user and have them tag you on the map. So two users can collaborate if they go to the map and they click on the tags, and then they type into a manual tag, whatever that tag is, the system's going to look them up, and then you can create that tag. And it's everything in front of your @ sign on your email address.
So a follow-up to that is, I got a user that leaves my company that owns the majority of the maps. Can I bulk assign those to somebody else?
Yeah,
Yes,
and we
with
have
the
a
overlord.
support function that allows us to mass tag maps. So we'll say maps that belong to this user, tag it with this other tag, and it becomes the other user.
Yeah. And you hit it. If you have turnover, you want to minimize the damage or not allow them to access those assets, very easy to turn them off. And as a matter of fact, we did not show you that. Can you show Overlord real quick, Chris?
I thought we could.
Sorry, that's, yes. Now we're getting serious. Going to Overlord.
This is an Overlord, but this is our staging platform, and it's an example of an account with many users. And so, I have a lot of Overlords in here, but you could pretend there's something else. And you can see down here at the bottom, this person, I can actually click on the permissions menu, and I can disable them. I can make them a user, which means they only see their work. If I made them a manager, they could see everybody's work, and they can open up any map they wanted to, and even tag somebody that's reporting to them. They could do anything they want to that map. the administrator can actually give permissions to people like I'm doing right now. The manager cannot do that. And the manager, the administrator can invite new people in. If somebody's been disabled, then it opens up a slot, and they can buy things. And there can be more than one administrator on the account.
So that's the key with the multi-user accounts, managing them. Sorry.
And the Overlord is a screen that we use in support, that allows us to just see what's going on with that client. How many credits do they have? What's their renewal date? How many projects have they created? What's their status? Are they a trial? Are they unsubscribed? And this is all mocked up stuff here. And you can see we have screen after screen. He must have dumped the real data in here. He's got 1,600 screens. And then we also have a support panel. And there have been several scripts written, that we identified as, I'm always asking the developers to do this for me. Can you write something up so that I can just click on it and not bother you? And so we've got ourselves a nice little list going. One of them being add tags to all projects of a user. And you can also, move a user from one account to another. So if somebody comes on our system, they create a trial, but they don't know that their boss also created a trial and then converted that to a real account, and he wants to add the guy that created the trial. The system's not going to let him do that. It's going to say, oh, this guy already exists. You can't create this user. So they'll call me, and I'll move that trial into their account using this script.
Not so much a product question, but how many people convert from a free trial to a subscription? Like what percentage?
It varies depending on time of year, but we're around 20%.
20 to 30, just depends.
Yep.
That's been pretty consistent too over time.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any, during the free trial period, is there any behavior that indicates they're going to become, that kind of represent these are going to become a paid account because they've done something in the system?
Yeah, so engagement with the trial, which they get 3 free projects, 14 days to do that. So if they're actively measuring and creating those 3 projects, they're most likely to convert. 2 projects, sometimes they'll do 1, hey, I'm ready, and let's do it. But all things being equal, if they're using their 3, that's a solid buying sign. Yep.
Clarice, I think you had a...
Yeah, I just had a couple quick ones. With the parcel outline, I'm wondering how, and the prospecting, I wonder how that works with the address being 1 credit. So I have this address, I bring this up, and then I'm like, ooh, this neighbor, is that a 2nd credit, or how does the address?
Yeah, so that's an interesting situation. And as far as the roadmap looks, this would be a marketing module that would allow you to do that, because the other key is integrating Google business data into that view, so that when they find the parcel they want, they can click and immediately find out information about the company. We don't have that right now. It's just like, oh, they're close by. Well, do you want to know their phone number? Do you want to know what type of business they're in?
Right.
All those things can be leveraged. So we've started down the path of being able to integrate that Google Business API within that view. We bring in the parcels, they bring in the business intelligence, and now you're able to click, and that additional value would be, hey, let's go ahead and use a credit. We'll measure this, and then you can automatically add it to a marketing campaign.
That adds a lot of possibilities.
Just a follow-up, if that's tied to a particular parcel and you had measured other related parcels in view of that map, can you see that on any given map? Does that make sense?
It's
If you search 922.
we are not prescriptive at all. We used to have geofences, so you could only go so far away from your initial frame. Those pictures are in frames. You go over 1 or 2 or 3, and now you got to use another credit. And we eventually got rid of all that. And so the system can be hacked. so to speak. So if you wanted to measure a homeowners association, you just need one address. You get the address for the pool house or whatever, and you land on that homeowners association. Well, now you can measure everything that you see, and you can measure all the common areas, because they want you to bid on that. And they might say, and if you want to, solicit, any of the, people in the neighborhood, you can do that. Well, you can go in and start measuring people up and just, copy down the address on a notepad and write down the square feet if you wanted to do that. Nothing's holding you back. But that's...
It would get pretty unwieldy.
Yeah.
When you get to a certain point, they'd be like, oh, I'm not doing that. So it's a built-in...
I was asking less from a hacking standpoint, but more from tracking standpoint. So if I had 4210 measured, Oak Tree Court, but I also 15 was my customer, would it show that on me here, or no? It's just kind of, you just have to know that from here.
That is a great idea.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, because I'm seeing a massive, and boom, every project you have. Exactly. See, we're together because we could then gray out, okay, or illuminate those properties. Hey, I've got this. I've got this. I've
So
got
just
this.
so you can see a map of, from
Absolutely.
the marketing standpoint, you also see what is my density in this particular area. Because I knew, even me as an estimator, I probably wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
No, every property I had is at a company.
Yeah, and the visual representation is huge, and that's where the lines blur between data and the practical use of the tool, and for marketing, and for sales, and for upgrades.
Yeah, but we're getting into some real dark areas here, so if you wanted to, you could name your group, 9237 Cedar Gate. You could measure up 9237 and it would put square footage in it. And then you can go to the next one and you can name that.
This guy is, man, he is dark.
You can do whatever you want. We have no,
For lawn care, that might be.
but typically people want to know about that property, and they're not lucky enough to be able to go up and down the street. They're over here, they're over there, and their density is a real unwieldy thing. But you can do it. I mean, I've had guy, I was just baffled. He's asking me questions. Something's not working for him, and I'm thinking, what are you talking about? And he subscribed, and he opened up one credit, and he went to High View, and he just knew his way around this little town, and he jumped all over the place creating these measurements, and all he wanted was a number, which is everything that we wanted to be not. We want to get away from people that want to be a number. We want to give them site maps, production factors, high-level business operations, all these kinds of things that allow you to grow. And I finally look at his account, and I pull back, and he's got all these dots, and it's like, you're a scammer. Shame on you. But he was using it like as if it were Google Earth, because that's the way Google Earth works.
Any other questions?
I just have one other, and it's something we talked about earlier. When you were saying generally people use the desktop to create the map, but then on the field they could bring up the iPad or whatever to look at it. Are they changing anything when they're out in the field, or are they just using it to observe and look at it?
They can change if they want, but most of the use cases they're referring to it. They're referencing, here's the square footage, where we're standing. Let me, on the other side of the building, well, how much mulch is that? By the retaining, let me show you. Right here, where we don't have to, take 20 minutes and walk around. Now, something that, is also wish list roadmap too is the ability to provide hotspots on our maps that represent files, that represent images, because they might notice, oh, well, there's a crack here. Well, wait a minute. We can't pick that up in our satellite if it only happened, a certain number of days ago. Sure. They take the picture and then hotspot it. That would be another use case while they're on the property. We always say, hey, we get a lot of people go, yeah, but I have to visit the property. Well, absolutely, but you want to visit the property from a position of power.
Right.
You've already seen it. You know all the big rocks. Now you can come in and really, really understand it.
Cool.
But if that guy's a user, right? If he is the actual guy that's creating the map and he's on the site now in his account, he can make changes. But let's say he created his map and he did a share view, and he sent it to his ops guy who's on site. Now the ops guy just, brings up his chat or whatever it is and pops up that map in his browser. Now he can walk around that property and, take notes or whatever, compared to what the drawings are indicating. And
When you say take notes, you mean pen and paper, there's no notes or anything?
right, he would have to dump it into paint or something.
Okay.
Unless he was on, yes, I don't know.
And that's another thing with ShareView. We want to ultimately use it to help facilitate the sales process of iLawn. So when someone comes in and does a measurement, they can share that with the other decision makers. All they have to do is click a link, and they get the iLawn experience without none of the, oh, well, what do you mean? Rotating the images, being able to turn on the groups, being able to see that interactive piece. So anyway.
Yeah, show the boss, right? So
Exactly.
somebody's, the person's got to go out and do the research. Or, and what happens in a lot of cases, somebody moves from one company to another. They want to be successful at the new company, and they're thinking, God, I got to have iLawn, so I can, be the best sales guy or whatever the deal is. And now they've got to, share what they know about it, and they can use that to share.